Hey, welcome to Smoking Eagles Rod Shop. Now, if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the content. And if you're old school, hey, I'm glad you're back. Good to see you again. So today we're going to be working on my tire changer again. This will be my third video. The first two videos, I redo the air cylinder and fix some little things that were wrong with it to get it kind of up to this point. You can go back and check those videos out if you want. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, you might find them handy, useful, or just interesting. So I'm missing the tire spoon or tire bar, or whatever you want to call it for this. Now, a lot of guys have been taking the Harbor Freight manual tire changers and creating a duckbill adapter like the new tire changer machines have. So I kind of kicked that idea around in my head and came up with one of my own. Now, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time drawing a diagram or a blueprint and talking about it for a half hour. We're just going to get right into it. But the gist of it is I'm going to have a pipe, slides in and out like this, with my duckbill adapter on the other side, and then we're going to have a pipe that slides down on here. We'll have a couple of thumb screws so that once everything's kind of adjusted, we can lock it down, make the machine run, and pull tires on and off. Now, duckbill adapters, the whole idea behind them is they're plastic, and so they don't beat up your wheel. So if you want to do aluminum wheels or something like that, you're not going to beat the crap out of them, and they make it a little bit easier on the machine to pull the tires on and off. And I want the machine to do all the work because I honestly don't want to do any of it. Changing tires sucks. Whole reason why I got a machine when I found one on the cheap on Marketplace. So first thing we got to do is on these old school machines is the shaft turns clockwise and we need it to turn counterclockwise. So I'm going to tear the motor off of this, get it all cleaned up. I'll get it on the bench and we'll see if we can reverse the direction on this thing. If not, we're going to have to figure out what to do. Alright guys, so I pulled the side cover off where the power line goes in there, and this wire is super crusty. If you watched my other video, I already replaced the end on it and put a bunch of shrink wrap over places where it had been ran over, stepped on, 100 other things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to cut this off, and then we'll either splice it back in, rewire it in with better wire that's not all crusty in here, or I'll just get a whole new power cord if need be. But this is a pretty simple operation. You step on the pedal out front and it just pushes up on this little button and that turns the motor on. It would be nice if it was two directional and you could push the motor on and then it had a second pedal that would reverse it the other direction, or have a two-way switch or some kind of cool thing like that, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, got that disconnected. These are all gross. The idea here is when I get that motor out of there, we'll be able to match these colors up with the colors on the end of this, and then we'll know how to hook it back up the correct direction, or how it was hooked up now. If I go chopping way back in here, as you can see, half the color's cooked off of these. It's just going to be hard to tell what we're working with and what we're doing. So it looks like I need to pull this bolt, this bolt. The adjustments for it are back here to tighten and loosen the belt, and there's more bolts down here. I think I can pull these outside bolts off and pull the belt off the other side, and we can just slide this whole motor right out of the back of this. That's wishful thinking. I'm probably gonna have to tear all this air cylinder and stuff back off of here, but so I got all the bolts out of there. I actually had to pull a cotter pin and slide the little pedal arm out of there. I didn't realize that was all part of this bracket. Guess I should have paid a little more attention. And I did have to pull the big springs off the back of this air cylinder and the springs off of the top piece here. Pretty simple. I already know how that works. If you watched my previous video, I've struggled with that enough to know how it works. So I'm hoping I can just pull this whole thing out of here and it will slide out of this. If it won't, I'll have to pull this set screw here, or this little stop screw. Drop that on my foot. Whew! Let's get her on the bench. I don't know about you guys, but that's just satisfying for me when I get something super crusty like that and I can just scrape all the crud right off. Look at this. Maybe I should whisper like those weird people who do that ASMR type stuff that are all over the interwebs now. Now I'm just gonna kind of clean this off a little bit. Just like that, we're gonna remove this sludge. Anyway, guys, just being goofy. Let me get this all cleaned up, and then we'll see if we can't switch the direction on this motor. So, 2 rounds later, and look at this thing. It's all cleaned up. Looks pretty nice. Now there's a sticker on here that says set up for clockwise, which tells me that we can set it up to be counterclockwise. Now you don't have to have a parts washer, guys, but everybody can have a coffee can with some mineral spirits and a couple of wire brushes to really get stuff cleaned up. And then I just use like an old oil drain pan, a plastic one. They go bad all the time because they're plastic. Wish I had a metal one, but. And one thing I will tell you though, whenever you're working with like mineral spirits or whatever, I know my gloves got a hole in it now, but wear gloves, guys. Wear gloves. This stuff's not good for you. A little bit of touching it here and there ain't gonna kill you, but you don't want extended exposure to this crap. Now I know what you're saying to me. You're saying, Dustin, my grandpa lived to be 100 and he never wore gloves. He touched all that stuff. Well, I promise you, your grandpa was tougher than you. You're a sissy. We all know you're a sissy. Your grandpa was thick-skinned and he could live through anything. Multiple world wars and all kinds of other crazy stuff. You ain't done none of that. So don't act like you can. Just put on some stupid gloves, okay? All jokes aside though, you should wear gloves. Yeah, this thing looks pretty good. I didn't want to toss it in a parts washer and fully submerge it and get mineral spirits in places where it probably shouldn't be. I probably still did that, doing it this way, but I'm gonna let this dry overnight. I'll tip it up or something, and then hopefully anything left in there, I'll just kind of drip and drain out of there. I cleaned the holes so we can clean those out really good, and we can drip some oil down in there and oil these bearings up. But they feel really good. It's not crunchy or nothing. So, I'm really happy about how that motor turned out. That's gonna work real good for us. I also went and cleaned this bracket up in the parts washer right quick. Got all the sludge off of it so we can touch it and not feel super gross. All right, guys, so I'll finish getting this stuff kind of wiped off, and I'll let that dry overnight, and we can tackle making that go the other direction tomorrow. So I got our motor mounted up in the vise here so we can switch the direction of it. And one thing I thought was really cool about this motor is it's a GE motor, and it says up here it was manufactured in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is only about 45 minutes up the road from here. So I think that's pretty cool that it's locally made, and yeah, it's kind of stayed around. It's still running strong. I don't know if you guys are subscribed to David W's YouTube channel, but it's really cool. I recommend you go check it out. I'll put a link down in the description. We've talked to him a couple of times at different live streams, and he was actually at the auction where I bought my Studebaker convertible. He does a lot of auction videos, goes around locally and checks out, you know, tractor parts, old cars, vintage cars, all kinds of really, really cool stuff. I'm glad I don't go with him, or I own way more crap that I don't need. But anyway, definitely go check his channel out. What brought me to mention his channel is I remember watching one of his recent auction videos with a bunch of old riding mowers and garden tractors and things like that. It must have been somebody who was an old tractor repairman or lawnmower repairman or something. But anyway, he mentioned that his parents actually worked and retired from GE, the plant in Fort Wayne. So I don't know if his parents touched this motor, helped build this motor or what, but they definitely took part in it being around and being here. So anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. Definitely go check his YouTube channel out. So what we're doing is we're just gonna switch the direction here. This motor is two directional. It actually had a sticker on it that said that it was set up for clockwise, and we want it to go counterclockwise. So all we have to do is come down here and switch our yellow and blue leads. We just flip them around. So I'll plug this in real quick and we'll check this direction. I'll switch those around and I'll show you that it changes, and then I'll bolt it to our bracket and toss it back in the machine, and we'll try the pedal. Okay, so this is with the blue wire on the left-hand side. Now that's the way it came out of the machine. And that is showing this turning in a counterclockwise rotation from this direction. So I'm going to flip those wires around real quick. Okay, so now our blue wire is on the right-hand side, and we'll see what direction this spins. Okay, there you go. As you can see, the wheel's now turning the clockwise direction, which is opposite of the way it came out of the machine. So I'm gonna bolt this all up, toss it in our machine, step on the pedal, and we'll see what we get. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the end of this pipe off because we don't need these threads. And then we'll figure out how long we want this thing to be and we'll cut the other end of it off. So I've cut this off to the length I think we want this to be. I'm going to go right down the factory weld and I'm going to cut this pipe in half because it's just a little bit too big in diameter. And once we cut that down, then we should be able to pinch it together. Hopefully that will be enough. If it's not, we'll unclamp it, we'll grind a little bit more off of there, and we'll just keep doing that until we can get this the perfect diameter, and then we'll just re-weld this pipe back together. Okay, so I've got a slot cut all the way down this. The idea is I should be able to clamp this together. So I've got the slot clamped together, and when we slide it on here, it is a lot better than it was before, but I think I need to cut a little more out of there. So what I'm gonna do is clamp it back into vise, and I'm just gonna go right back down that slot again, and that'll open her up a little bit more. All right, guys, so I went down the side of this pipe twice with a cutoff wheel, and then I just took a regular grinding wheel and just ground a little bit of a groove in it so I'll have a nice spot to weld this. Now I set this down on here, and if you look, when this slides down on here, there's a bunch of dirt and slime on there. But this radius on the back side, our flat is over here on this side. Our radius on the back side here matches up perfectly with the radius of that pipe until about right over here, which is real close to where our flat is. So that'll work out great for us. I'll be able to weld this seam back together down the side of this pipe. So we've got our pipe all welded up. Now, I never claimed to be a great welder, just good enough, and it happens to fit right down on there. Looks perfect. Now we've got that flat on here. I'm going to show you what the plan is for that. So I've got this piece of pipe here. We are going to fab our duckbill adapter or mod or whatever onto the end of here at a later date. To start with, I've got this piece of giant angle iron that I think is plenty beefy enough for our project, and I've got it around our pipe that we're going to use. Now, as you can see, it's a little too big, so I'm going to cut down a couple sides of this angle iron and make it fit snug, but not too snug, so that we can slide this back and forth for our, well, we'll actually be sliding this pipe back and forth to adjust in and out for our rim diameter, and then we can put a thumb screw wherever makes sense for us. Then, this angle iron, because we need a flat in this pipe, we'll be able to mill a notch right out of it. I'm going to do it right where that welded seam is. And then we can set this right in there and we can weld it right to it. That'll give us our flat in our pipe to run off of our shaft here. And it'll also give me a window so I can get into the backside and just kind of weld the backside of that seam a little bit. It's penetrated 99% through, but we'll just touch it up a little bit. And the only place that really is going to be an issue that I have to clean up on the inside of there is going to be whatever rides below this flat, because up above here, the flat actually will give me room for my nasty booger weld. And yeah, so first thing I'm going to do is cut this angle iron down and get it to size. So I got that all chopped off of there, and as you can see, fits right on there. I used a piece of sheet metal as a shim because obviously we want it to be adjustable. We don't want it super tight. And as you can see, I got a little bit of a gap up here. It's a little bit more than what I would like to have. So I'm going to pull this back apart, grind these back down a little bit until I get the gap that I'm happy with, and then I'll clean these edges up with the grinder and we'll weld this baby together. the welder, which is right over there. And I even welded down inside in there as far as I could get the MIG gun down in there, because the beauty of the square and putting the circle in the square is the corners can be full of weld and it isn't going to affect anything. I do have a little slag in there. It's kind of holding me up about right here. It might even be a little bit of that weld, so I may have to go down there and grind a little bit of that out. But this looks pretty good. Needs to cool off because it's super hot. I saved you guys a little bit of time lapse by skipping my 40 minutes of cleaning up my crappy welds. You're welcome. And yeah, so basically, here's the plan. Let me swing you around here. So I've got this pipe, if you remember. It's gonna go right down on here. And this is gonna get welded onto here, like that. But we need a flat so that this will rotate, right? When the center shaft spins. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna figure out where we want to locate it in our pipe here. And I'm just gonna cut a notch out of this pipe. So, sorry, I can't use two hands because the thing's still super hot. We can slide this right inside there. This square tubing will create our flat, and then we can weld it from the backside and weld it around the top. You know, my fancy weld job. I'm gonna let this cool off just a little bit more and grind a little bit out of here and make sure it slides on that pipe fully. And then I'll get this pipe and the square up on the bench and we'll figure out where we're gonna notch this pipe out. And I decided that I was gonna go 4-inch and 6-inch. That's gonna give us a 2-inch gap here. It's a little bit longer down here, but it's fine because this will line up with the very bottom of our flat. So that would be the lowest adjustment available, basically. And then, yeah, thicker wheels, it'll slowly move up. If I need to cut a little off the bottom or the top, well, the top doesn't matter because it'll never hit anything, but if I want to cut a little bit off the bottom to get a little more adjustment, if I happen to be off a little bit, I can do that. No big deal. So I've got those marked. I did my original measurements kind of guessing over here until I figured out exactly what I wanted to do. Then I marked the center line of our weld so that my notch will be kind of in the middle of that weld. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna mark our lines for the sides of our square flat. So all I'm gonna do to do that is push my pipe up from the back, stick my square right on this flat, like so. And that should give me a straight line right down the side of this pipe where that flat is going to be on this side. And I'll do the same over here. There we go. So in a perfect world, we could just cut that square out, cross there, cross there. I'll show you how to make a straight line on that. Get yourself a piece of electrical tape. Don't stretch it. Boom. Do the same on the top. Straight enough. So we've got our square. This is our center line. We want to notch that out. And I'm going to be a little bit cautious. I'm going to cut in just a little bit, in a little on all 4 sides. And then we'll just grind her out till she fits perfect. Right up against that flat, we'll just stick that pipe in there, or our square tubing in there, and make sure everything lines up real good, and it'll slide up and down on there. I'll have it clamped on there so we can make sure the function is what we want. Then we can weld her in. All right, guys, so I got this pocket cut out, and this fits right in here the way I'm gonna weld it in, just like that. Now, as you can see, it's not stopping on that flat. So that's kind of the way I wanted it, because I want to be able to fine tune it in so that we have it perfect. So what I'm going to do is hold this out like this, and I'm just going to start grinding this down with my, I don't even know what it's called, my whatever, belt sander, that handheld belt sander, and just start going back and forth across here, start grinding this down flat. Or I might use a flat disc or something. I got some smaller flat discs on my die grinder, and start bringing that down till it's almost touching this flat, and I'll just keep double checking until I get to exactly where I want it with the perfect amount of whatever slop in it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And yeah, we'll go from there. Well, I hope you guys are enjoying this as I continue to drag out every single tool I own to fix an old tire machine that probably should have went to the scrapyard. No, I'm just messing with you guys though. But seriously, I hope you enjoy the content. I'm having a lot of fun just kind of fixing this old thing. And yeah. Almost ready to start welding this up. So I'm going to finish cleaning this up, and then I'll get her over to the welding shop. Alright guys, so it's time to do a little welding. Before I weld this plate in here, or square tube, or whatever you want to call it, what I did is I drilled a hole in the backside. I found a nut and a bolt. It happened to be, I found a couple of old wheel studs, which are fine thread, so they ought to be plenty strong enough, and they've already got a flat on them. So they're gonna work great. What I've done is drilled the hole through it and stuck it through, tightened my nut on the backside so we can weld this nut on here. And then here's the other one, because we're gonna need 2 thumb screws. And I actually, this is part of the parking brake system off of Carmen Electra that I ripped off and threw in my pile of probably gonna need it later for some other project pile. I just ground a little groove in the back side of this wheel stud, and that gave us a perfect little spot to put our little handle. I'll weld this on here. This takes a little bit of patience to get her all lined up and clamped on. We're just gonna have to stick it and go with it. But yeah, I've got another one for this, so once I get this nut welded on here, should be able to back this out of here. Yeah, and weld our thumb screw handle on this one, and then we can put our square tubing on there. So. All right, guys, I'm back. So, as always, there's a wrench in the system. So I welded this nut on here. Oh yeah, looks great. Made my little thumb screw, looks great, right? Everything's going good. Well, then I tried to pull the bolt out that I used to hold that nut in place while I welded it on there, and I don't know if slag or something got in underneath there when I was welding that on, or what happened. I don't know, but anyway, it took me forever to fight that thing out of there, and it just ate the threads off this wheel stud. So I ran a wire brush down through it, thought I'd clean them threads up, went to screw my new one in. As you can see on the threads there, it just starts eating those threads right at the very bottom. And it's a 14 1.5. Do you think I have a 14 1.5 tap? No, I don't. Biggest thing I got is 1/2 inch. I do have metric, but yeah, it's whatever the 1/2 inch equivalent is. Don't even care. This is why I hate metric crap. I don't know why. I kept these wheel studs laying around because I thought, hey, maybe somebody will need a wheel stud. I'm guessing they came off a Chevy pickup, but you know, nowadays everything's freaking metric. Stupid. So banged my head around, thought maybe I'll run in town and grab a tap and I'll just tap it out, go on with my journey. But can't really find one anywhere close without driving who knows where. Thought about going to Rural King, see if they have one, at least get some free popcorn out of the deal. But by the time I do all that, I'm going to be gone for 2 hours. And so I opted for the second option. I'm just going to cut this damn nut off of here, and I'm going to weld an American one on that's half 13. And I got tons of them nuts laying around, all kinds of bolts, and I have a tap in case this happens again. So it happens, guys. It happens. Yeah. So I'm just going to cut this off. And unfortunately, I actually got a pretty good weld on that nut, so this might take a minute. All right, guys, we're back. I got the nut all cut off of there. You know, not gonna hide any mistakes from you because that's how you learn from your mistakes, right? Or you guys learn from mine. So, got another nut. I actually ground a radius in it so that it sits down on here a little bit better, and then I'm gonna weld this baby on there, and hopefully we're good to go. I'm gonna screw this other nut on top of here, and it'll kind of protect my threads on the rest of that bolt from getting a bunch of slag and crap all over them, and then yeah, so let's go over to the weld shop. Got our nut on there, got her cleaned up a little bit, knocked all the slag off there so nobody's gonna get cut. Cut our bolt off to the right length, and yeah. Moment of truth, we'll see if this thing works. Now, one thing I did notice, just in messing around, I just hit this real quick with my flat disc just to clean the rust off of the edge of that. And this side of this leading edge is all beat to hell because it obviously takes the brunt of the force when this thing was breaking tires off turning clockwise. Cool thing is, now that we've reversed the direction, we're gonna have this nice clean leading edge. It's gonna go right down on there like that. Thumb screw. Pulls right up tight. That is perfect. Probably should have put that thumb screw in there first and then cut our pocket, but we'll be fine. It's got lots of adjustment in there. So now we can weld our square tube in there, and that'll just take up that slack. I think we'll really get a good bite on that using a thumb screw. The original design didn't even have a thumb screw on the backside. You just set it on there. So that may be part of the reason why that leading edge was taking so much of a beating. Anyway, get that all clamped up. We'll go back over to the weld shop. Oh, and I got to put more wire on the welder. It's always something. So I was getting ready to go over to the welder, and I was kind of thinking about this real quick, and I centered this up in the center of our pipe here, and I thought, oh wait, what about our tiny wheels, right? Are we gonna have enough room out here? That was something I hadn't even thought of. I happen to have a 13-inch wheel laying around, so I tossed it on the old tire changer here. Now, this duckbill doesn't look like it's gonna be real excited to do a 13. This kind of hits the rim, but I don't know. It's not like I'm gonna do 13s very often anyway. Slide this pipe in here, and our duckbill is gonna be off the end of it like this, right? I wanna make sure we got enough room here to go down. Because my bracket and stuff's gonna set this out even further, which is gonna tuck this way back in here. I feel like centering this up is probably the wrong idea. I think I need to offset this, off-center an inch. That'll put this back an inch, and that'll give me another inch over here as far as doing small stuff. And I don't know what I'm gonna do about garden tractors and stuff, because they're gonna be really small. May just have to do those by hand with a tire spoon, but this will at least hold it in place and we can swing around. Or maybe we need to build a separate one of these tire changers just for those. I would like to cut this off once I get it done and then use the other half and weld just a regular tire spoon or something onto it. So maybe that would work for our super tiny lawnmower tires or something. Just have a little tire spoon adapter to put in here. I don't know. This is as low as this can go down, and obviously a tractor rim's gonna be a lot smaller. They're thinner, I guess. I don't know, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, I think if I offset this by 1 inch, clamp this together, we can do that. I'm also gonna drill a hole here so we can weld our nut on to this first and back that out just so we got less to hang on to while we're trying to do that, less to work with. Off to the weld shop. So, got that done, back from the weld shop. I had to deburr the inside. I had quite a bit of slag and stuff in there, but no biggie. Now, this fits right down on here, and it's, you know, got a couple of stiff spots or sticky spots. What I found out already, about 3 times is when it decides to go, it's gonna smash your finger. Yeah. So, it's pretty cool. It goes right down in here. Thumb screw works great. About time to move on to the duckbill, but check this out. I've got the manual bar from the Harbor Freight manual tire changer, and just thought, hey, I wonder if this would fit in that pipe. So I grabbed it, slides right in like so, turn it like this. If we adjust our height, about like that, bring this baby in here, snug the thumb screw down. I'm wondering if this will remove the tire for me. Now, originally my plan was to make like a little spoon or something for like small tractor tires, lawnmowers, go-karts, mini bikes, things of that nature. And it looks like this might actually work. All right, guys, so I moved on to our ducktail. All right, guys, so I moved on to our duckbill adapter. This is kind of the contraption I got set up. I've got our height set up correctly. I slid this right in here, and I've lined it up with the radius as best I can. So if this kind of lines up, so that I have the correct angle. I've got our plate clamped on here with a C-clamp, just to kind of hold our pipe in location. Now I'm gonna flip this over. If I can get this out of here, this pipe's kind of bent, so that's why I'm using the straight end. Flip this over. Now the end of our pipe, I don't know if you guys can see this in the camera, the duckbill adapter is actually going to be at a little bit of an angle to line up with our radius as we slide it in and out. So I want to cut the end of our pipe at that same angle so it sits right up against here nice and flat. And to do that, I'm going to take this little piece of angle iron here, I'm going to set it right up on here, clamp it in place, right up against our pipe. Like so. Hey, glad the furnace shut off. Right like so. So now I'm going to unclamp this. Hopefully without moving that piece of angle iron. I know exactly where our plate was. So I'm going to take this over to the vise, and I'm going to cut me a little piece of cardboard as a template that'll have that angle on it. And then I can go over and I can adjust the bandsaw to line up with that angle without having to do any math or any fancy fandangly stuff with this thing, right? I don't have to really figure out any of this anglage if I just use a piece of cardboard, and that'll get us real close, and I can cut the end of this pipe and it should slide right up in there and be perfect. All right, so as you can see, I've got a piece of cardboard that kind of looks like our pipe, and I have it cut to the exact perfect angle there. So now I'm just gonna take this over to the bandsaw. We'll lay it down. We'll use it to set the angle for the end of our pipe, and we'll cut just a little bit off the end of this pipe to make it the correct angle. So when we slide it back in here, it lines up perfectly right up to the edge of that. And then we will weld our pipe on. So over here at the bandsaw, never stick your hand down here with the thing plugged in because, yeah, don't be that guy. Anyway, we got our piece of cardboard and we're just going to set our angle. Looks like our angle is going to be about like so. Snug this up. I should put our pipe right where we want it. So now all we got to do is clamp our pipe in here. Okay. So got that cut off, and as you can see, that angle lines up perfectly with that. I've got this piece of angle iron clamped on here real nice, and that holds our pipe at the angle that we want it to be at, or real close, and then I've clamped it over here with another C-clamp. Now that's gonna hold everything exactly where I want it. I'm gonna unbolt this duckbill adapter from here after I double check it and make sure nothing moved and our angle is still the way we want it. Then I'll take it over to the welder and I'll weld this along here. Like I said, I'll take this off so the heat doesn't melt this. We'll weld this side on, and then I can take my angle iron off of this side. I can weld the other side on, and then I'll figure out how I'm gonna trim this, maybe at a 45 or something over here. This side actually has a hole in it here, so I don't know. We may cut it off right along there on the other side of our weld. We'll see. Making it up as I go, if you hadn't noticed, but hey, this is gonna work. I think, maybe. So I got it welded on just on one side, bolted this back up, made sure our radius looks right. Everything seems to line up. The way I'm doing is I'm trying to line my radius up back here. The back side of the duckbill, I'm lining it up with the radius of the rim, and it's off just ever so slightly, but I think it'll be fine. Yeah, I think we're good to go. Obviously I can cut this off still. I haven't done that yet, and that'll allow this to go back further. What I'm gonna do, I accidentally welded it to the end of the pipe that's bent, so I'll have to figure out how to fix that later on, but get it past that rough spot. What I've got is I've just got it welded right along there. So I'm gonna go over, I'm gonna weld it right along there, weld it across the front, weld it right across here, and then it will be permanente. And then I'm just probably gonna fire up the plasma and just cut a radius right there, and then cut a radius over here and kind of grind that hole out, or who knows what I'm gonna do with this side. I don't know. I'll just cut along there and we'll just leave it. Don't matter. And then I'll just deburr all that stuff and cut this off to length. See if we can't dismount a tire with the duckbill adapter. All right, so here's the old moment of truth. I've got our duckbill adapter all mounted up here, kind of got all the burrs and stuff knocked off of it. I'll probably put a fresh coat of paint on this, red or black or whatever I got laying around. I put a 13-inch wheel on here, which is the smallest this will do. Adjusted it all the way in, and this is about where it needs to be to not interfere with the tire popping off at all, but to be honest, I'm probably not going to do too many 13s. So I just measured out to like what a 14 would be and cut it off there, and made sure that if I did a 17, which is the biggest this thing can do, which again, probably not going to do too many 17s, 16s maybe, you know, 90s pickup trucks, which I happen to have a handful of. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough for my thumb screw to grab onto when I did that. And then our adapter here, I took it over to the bandsaw and just cut another inch of it off. So if I do a 13, this is basically right up against for a 13. It has just a little bit of play, just enough room. So got this burnout tire. As you can see, it's been well done. And yeah, we'll toss this on here, see if it'll pull that off. Now I know what you're thinking. Dustin, That's burnout tire, and it's completely popped. It's not really giving us a good indication of whether this thing will put a tire on or off. Well, I happen to have a couple more tires over there on the back of the Carmen that need changing. They don't look quite this bad. They still hold air, but they are shot. So I'll go grab one of those after we do this. I need to save at least one of them. There we go, got that lined up so our height is right. Need to save at least one of those and do just a dedicated video of this thing working. If this works. So there we got that. As you can see, it travels all the way around. So now, soapy water will lube her all up good. Now, keep in mind, I've never actually used a duckbill adapter, so I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, you know, the whole rest of this video has been, you know, a bunch of firsts for me. So I think I gotta pry it up. Pry the tire up onto here, I believe. I believe that's what I need to do, but I'm not 100% on that. No, that puts it on. I need to get it up over this side to pull it off. I believe like that. We have the top half of this off. So I need to bring that around so I can reach it. Gotta stay away from all the pricklies here. Pull this up like this. I might bring that around a little bit. It's a little easier for me to see. Yeah, there we go. On top of there. Keep my hand out of the way. Don't want to lose my fingers on the first try. Boom! Got a tire off. Let me run outside and see if I got a tire we can toss on this thing. Down periscope. That wasn't a very good choice, was it? I tried to kill you. Since I need a little practice, I thought, hey, maybe I can just put this on and take it off a couple times. So I assume this is what I got to do here. Like so. Boom, put it right on there. Now, figure out this part. Oops, getting snug there. Pretty sure this needs to be down inside there. That's what this is for. It's the old learning curve. Kind of jacked her tire up there a little bit, but it's a burnout tire. And I need a little practice. Really don't know what I'm doing yet. So we got her on. I'm guessing that's going to take a bead pretty well because it's basically already on there. Yeah, man, that worked good. Compared to trying to do it by hand. So let's see if we can get this back off of here. How did I do that to get that off? Go off the back side, I believe. So I think I need to pry here, maybe? I don't know. Where's the middle of the duck bill? Oh, that's gonna break that. Learning together, boys, learning together. Technical difficulties. Grab another bar. I'm gonna break it already. So I think all I gotta do is get this up over top of that, and it's gonna pull this thing right off of there. I just haven't figured out the technique yet. Obviously. Hey, maybe that'll hold that there, like that. Hey, that might be just what the doctor ordered. Hey, we got it. Except these are all bound up in here now. And that's all jacked up in there. Clearly, I got lots of learnings to do. So yeah, that's that. This thing's pretty handy, except getting it on and off there can be kind of cumbersome, especially if you don't know what the hell you're doing. So we got that up. I think that was part of our problem, is the bottom bead was like seated already. There! Got her back off of there. It's super wet, so it wants to just go back on. So, same thing over here, I feel like. Oop. Hey, that's what I'm supposed to do. It's pretty easy once you figure it out and do it right. Well, I think that's about going to wrap it up for our Bishman 880 tire changer, rebuild, repair, whatever series of videos, and our duckbill adapter video. I think that worked. I think that all the issues I have at this point are just user error, and it probably needs a few tweaks here and there, things to make it a little more user-friendly, but I'm not going to know what those things are until I actually get down and dirty and use this thing about 100 times, because you know, it's like anything else. After you do it 100 times, you're a professional, and it looks like you're a professional. Because you know what you're doing, and I clearly don't at this point. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you got any ideas to make this thing better, or you think I just look like a fool because I don't know what I'm doing. That could be the case, but I don't know. Anyway, I'll post some other videos around here. If any of them pique your interest, go check those out. Like always, like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends. And until next time, keep on wrenching. Peace.